Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. India's National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, dares Western media to prove claims of damage to Indian structures during Operation Sindoor, reiterating that Pakistan failed to hit Indian military sites while New Delhi struck deep inside Pakistan. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping is likely in the near future as he meets Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi on the sidelines of the ASEAN talks in Malaysia. Britain's economy contracts for a second month in a row with 0.1% drop in the gross domestic product in a blow to Prime Minister Keir Starmer's moves to kickstart growth. Iranian Nobel laureate Narges Mohammadi says that she, among scores of other activists, have received death threats from the regime in Tehran, fearing physical elimination due to their human rights activism. And the Philippines orders immediate dismantling of all gambling billboards and advertisements across the country amid worries over a growing addiction in the Southeast Asian nation. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from West Asia. A devastating Israeli airstrike in central Gaza has claimed the lives of at least 15 civilians. At least 10 children were killed in the strike who were queuing outside a medical facility for nutritional supplements and treatment. Videos emerging from the scene show bodies, many of them women and children, lying motionless in pools of blood. As panicked survivors rushed in to help, women could be seen trying to resuscitate the motionless children. Amid plumes of dust and smoke triggered by the strike, several bodies of children were retrieved from under the rubble as Palestinians mourned their kins killed in the latest Israeli strikes. The American NGO running medical facility has since suspended operations, calling the attack a blatant violation of international humanitarian law. Israel's military said the strike targeted what they called a Hamas terrorist involved in the October 7, 2023 attacks. The IDF said it regrets any harm to uninvolved individuals and is reviewing the incident. But the survivors of the strike continue to ask, what was the fault of the ones killed in the strike? And what's the fault of the ones living under a constant shadow of explosions, losses, and devastation?
What is the fault of these children? There's no food or drinks. They are hungry. There is nothing that is available for children, at least to play to relieve them. Isn't it a shame that these are victims? What is the fault of children? What is the fault of their mother? She raised them well. What is their fault? These are innocent children. Where is the world to stand by us? Isn't it shameful?
Of course, there was dust everywhere. We were surprised by the situation here, that children and women were thrown on the floor. They were waiting for the place to open so they could take nutritional supplements. People are forced to wait here in order to take nutritional supplements for their children.
Elsewhere in Gaza, doctors say they are struggling to care for newborn and premature babies. They are cramming several babies into single incubators due to crippling fuel shortages amid constant fear of being bombed. The uptick in bombing comes amid indirect ceasefire negotiations in Doha, where Israeli and Hamas representatives are discussing a 60-day pause in the war in exchange for hostages. The two sides are still negotiating aid distribution mechanisms, withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, assurances on permanently ending the war, and hostage prisoner swap. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is ready to end the war during a future ceasefire period, but only if Gaza is demilitarized. Prime Minister Netanyahu warned if all Israeli hostages are not released by Hamas, the war will continue.
Obviously, we would like to rescue all of the hostages, and from our point of view, all of them are classified as humanitarian cases. I want to rescue all of them in one go. We are dealing with two stages, but the choice of who will be released is not always in our hands. We will do everything in order to maximize the number of those released in this round in the best way possible. Not everything is in our hands. If this can be achieved through negotiations, great. If it cannot be achieved through negotiations within 60 days, we will achieve it through other means, by using force, the force of our heroic army.
The current conflict erupted after Hamas-led attacks on October 7th, 2023, which killed more than 1,200 Israelis. Since then, Israeli air and ground operations have killed over 57,000 Palestinians in Gaza, according to the territory's health ministry. More than 500 Palestinians have reportedly been shot dead while trying to access food distribution sites run by a US and Israeli-backed humanitarian group. As ceasefire talks continue in Qatar, the civilian toll in Gaza continues to rise, and families displaced multiple times over in the last 21 months of war continue to live under uncertainty and fear. Now, since US President Donald Trump's return to the White House, his America First policy has taken precedence over everything else. And Trump's immigration crackdown is a cornerstone of this policy. Immigrants are bearing the brunt of Trump's radical measures, and their struggle is not ending anytime soon. In fact, it's getting even worse. US visa and green card applications are being delayed, further fueling anxiety among immigrants. As per the latest figures released by the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, only 2.7 million immigration cases have been processed in the second quarter of the financial year of 2025. This marks an 18% year-on-year drop and a 12% slip from the previous quarter. As per media reports, over 34,000 applications remain untouched. As per the latest data from the US State Department, the number of F1 visas issued to Indians from March to May dropped by 27% as compared to last year. This also marks the lowest level of visa issuance for this period since the pandemic. From green cards to work permits, uncertainty has gripped applicants across categories. Processing time for the Form I-90 green card replacements has increased to over 8 months, leaving thousands of lawful permanent residents without valid documentation. Delays for work permits, that is the Form I-765, have more than doubled in just one quarter. Now, this affects immigrants' ability to legally earn a living, further stressing employers and families. The backlog in the Form I-129 applications is significantly impacting employment-based visa holders, especially the H-1B and the L-1 applicants. And that's not all. Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act is set to make US visas even more expensive. The country has introduced a new $250 visa integrity fee for non-immigrant visa applicants. This fee will be effective from the fiscal year 2026, and it will be charged in addition to the existing visa fees. The visa integrity fees apply to nearly all non-immigrant visa categories, including tourist and business visas, student visas, work visas, and exchange visas. Only diplomatic categories are exempted. The visa integrity fee is pegged to inflation and may be refunded if visa holders meet specific compliance criteria. The visa integrity fee is being billed as a kind of security deposit designed to encourage compliance with US immigration laws. And how will this affect Indians? As of now, A US tourist or business visa for Indian nationals currently costs around $185. But once the new charge comes into effect, the total cost is projected to increase to $472. That is nearly 2.5 times the current amount. The US immigration landscape has descended into chaos. Visa applications are being both delayed and becoming costly. Applicants are anxious as not only their dreams and aspirations, but their entire lives are now hanging by a thread. And shifting focus to Malaysia, a high-stakes nuclear security drill turned into a real emergency in the Southeast Asian country. A police helicopter crashed into the Pulai River mid-flypast during the multilateral nuclear security detection exercise. 5 officers were injured, 2 of whom remain critical. The French-made helicopter, also called the Eurocopter, went down less than an hour after it took off from an airstrip south of Kuala Lumpur. A video on social media showed the aircraft plunging into the river. The crash occurred during a ceremonial flypast that was witnessed by security forces from Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand. The incident disrupted the 4-nation exercise, with its continuation currently uncertain. Now, the exercises simulate real-world scenarios of nuclear material smuggling, a growing global concern. They help sharpen coordination between police, military, and maritime forces across nations, ensuring faster joint responses when radioactive threats cross into the region. Many in Malaysia have raised concerns about the crashed helicopter's age. It had been in service for 28 years. The helicopter was part of the Royal Malaysia Police Air Unit. It had reportedly been up for replacement, with tenders issued last November for newer models. But the Malaysian police have dismissed the doubts, saying what happened was beyond anyone's control. Police also urged the public to stop sharing crash videos, citing family trauma and the need to protect the supposed integrity of the investigation. The Malaysian Air Accident Investigation Bureau is now probing the crash, and the reasons behind the crash are yet to be ascertained. Meanwhile, reports in the Malaysian media say that the wreckage remains underwater. Recovery efforts were briefly put on hold earlier today as investigators from the Air Operations Force and Transport Ministry reached the scene. The nuclear deterrent exercise was meant to test Southeast Asia's capabilities to stop nuclear material smuggling. Instead, it's now under scrutiny for a crash that's left 2 officers fighting for their lives and a lot of unanswered questions. And for our last story today, let's shift our focus to North Korea. A North Korean defector is filing civil and criminal charges against the country's supreme leader Kim Jong-un in a South Korean court. Her name is Choi Min-kyung. She says that she faced torture and sexual violence in the regime's detention facilities. The case names Kim Jong-un and 4 other Pyongyang officials. Both filings name Kim Jong-un as a defendant bearing responsibility for the alleged abuses. The criminal complaint argues that he has command responsibility for systematic crimes against humanity under the principle that North Korean officials operate under the supreme leader's effective control. This filing will mark the first time a North Korean defector has pursued legal action for North Korea's human rights violations in South Korean courts. As per media reports, Choi had fled from North Korea to China in 1997, but she was forcibly repatriated in 2008. As per the North Korean defector, she was sexually abused and tortured after her return. Reportedly, Choi fled North Korea again in 2012 and settled in South Korea. Choi has said that psychological trauma from the torture that she faced in detention still haunts her, and she continues to rely on medication years after her escape. Choi also reportedly plans to take her case to the UN human rights body and the International Criminal Court. In the past, South Korean courts have ruled against North Korea on similar claims by South Koreans, but such verdicts are largely symbolic and ignored by Pyongyang. For years, international rights groups have documented alleged human rights violations by North Korea. These range from abuse of political prisoners to systematic discrimination based on gender and class. According to a 2014 UN Commission of Inquiry, North Korea committed widespread crimes against humanity, including torture, sexual violence, and arbitrary detention. The report also points at systematic abuses in the country's network of political prison camps, estimated to hold between 80,000 and 120,000 people. Now it remains to be seen if and how North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un will react to this unprecedented lawsuit, or will Pyongyang continue to turn a blind eye to such horrific accusations? And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.